What's up YouTube, and welcome to the Acura Audio Garage. Today I have a special video for you. I'm going to be redoing one of our most popular videos. It's how to install a radio in your Acura TL. We'll be walking you how to do that in two ways. One's with the accessories you might already have had or came with your radio, and the second way is with our accessories so that you can make installing this radio as easy as possible for yourself and not have any headaches. But without any more me talking, I'm just gonna ask that you like the video, subscribe, and let me jump into what we gotta do. All right guys, just like any other radio installation, you're gonna need a dash kit, wiring harnesses, steering wheel control interface if necessary, and then maybe an antenna adapter. I can tell you for the TL 0708, you're gonna need an antenna adapter. So let me show you everything I have out on the table. So I'm gonna show you how to do this two ways. The first way is with the accessories that you might already have or that you can purchase at Best Buy, your local auto parts store. Then the accessories that we sell that will save you a lot of time. And then what you need from your radio in order to be able to accomplish this installation correctly. All right guys, so the first thing when installing your radio, let me get you a little higher up, it's going to be you need to decide on your radio. Now there's going to be a ton of features, different things that help you decide, but what you need to ensure your radio has is 6 RCA ports for the best flexibility when installing. So a radio like this will still have 6 RCA ports. If you went with a single DIN and it has 4 RCA ports, you can use a Y splitter to make one of these ports, to make these 4 into 5. The only thing is with your Y splitter, you're going to lose direct control of your subwoofer. So normally with the 6 or 5 RCA ports, you get a subwoofer control. With the by using a Y adapter, so by putting this into here, now you have 5 ports. So 2, 3, 4, 5. You lose control. You lose individual control of that subwoofer, but you can make it work with 4 RCA outputs. Jeez, just you're gonna need to use a Y adapter like this and then hook up your RCA's here. Now, back to installing the radio. So you decided on your radio. You can see I have here some in the background. I have Pioneer, Kenwood, and a Jensen Car 70V, DMX 4707S, and then an MVH 300EX. So all those radios work in your TL. There are a ton of other options, but I'm just giving you some. Just remember, those 6 RCA ports are gonna be what you need. Next thing, you might have seen this guy. This is the one that if you buy a radio from Crutchfield, Sonic Electronics, etc., they all give you this plug for free, sometimes for $1, etc., or the blue variant. They're both straight speaker wire. Now, in your TL, this is a no-no. The reason why this is a no-no is because your TL has a factory amplifier, so here it is. So you're sending the signal from the radio to this amplifier. This amplifier sends the signal to all the speakers in the car. When you send a speaker signal, so what I mean by speaker signal is you hook this up to the adapter that comes with your radio. So this comes with your aftermarket radio. It plugs into the back of it, and then you know you have your pair of greens, your pair of grays, your pair of whites, like a standard install. When you hook these up, green to green, white to white, gray to gray, you're sending a high level signal, high voltage from the radio to the car, to the factory amp, and you're causing damage to this. And then when you put the volume up, it sounds like garbage because you're double amplifying your signal. So you want to avoid that. The way to avoid that is to switch this accessory for this one with RCA's. So all your speaker connections, instead of going from here to here, you still hook this up, but you only hook up the power wires. So all your speaker wires don't get used, and you only hook up power wire. These don't get used. All these speaker wires don't get used. So you only hook this up. So you make one harness like this, and then the audio signal comes out of these, and you hook these up like so. Obviously this might not be the correct order, but this is what feeds the audio source now to your factory amplifier in the car, and this is the way you're going to get the best sound. Now you have the best sound source, you still have no sound. the other part is that the TL has two connectors. So this is the primary connection for powering all the speakers, but it doesn't tell the factory amplifier to turn on. For that, you need to make another connection. So that other connection are these two plugs. So if you have an 2004 to 2006 TL, this is the plug that will be in your car. So you'll have the traditional plug for the blue one, and then an additional plug, which is this one. You also have a white one, but you don't worry about that. You don't use that. Then in your 07, 08 TL, you're also gonna have this plug, and then you're gonna have a plug for your antenna adapter. So to complete this install correctly, you're gonna need to wiretap this red wire with a yellow stripe, if I can get it to focus. So this is the wire you're gonna need to wiretap. Here it is, here's where it's located. This is on this TL. That's to get your amp to turn on. So now you have sound, you have the right sound source, but your subwoofer is not working. So now your subwoofer is these two pairs right here. So you need to run an RCA here. That's what this little RCA is for. You're gonna need to hook up an RCA to each of the lines. So basically what you're gonna do is this, 1 to 1, 1 to 1. I'm sorry. So dark green to red blue, white with a green stripe to positive. So end up hooking these up. Now you have a sub. Now you have a sub, all the sound. Now you have a TL with navigation. Your navigation doesn't work. You're gonna need a 68 ohm resistor across these two wires. This pink and blue wire. So here they are in the harness. Let me see if I can get that to focus up for you. Let me get all the other wires out of the way. So here you go. Here's the location of them. That's the cavity where they are. So that pink on the bottom and the blue on the top, you need to put a resistor in between these. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the resistor, take these blue, white, and you're gonna attach a resistor right here. 68 ohm resistor right here. That'll make your navigation work again. Now you might be thinking to yourself, holy crap, this is getting a little more complicated than it needs to be. Well, it gets a little more complicated. So now you want your steering wheel controls to work. So if you want your steering wheel controls to work, you're gonna need to wiretap two more wires. Those are gonna be on this blue plug. The two plugs in your TL. Here's the primary plug with all the power wire and the primary speakers, subwoofer, navigation, and your amp turn on. Now you want to get your steering wheel controls to work. You need to ground this brown wire, and then this wire right here. So looking at the harness this way, this wire needs to go to your steering wheel control interface module. This wire needs to go to ground. So now you hook that all up, now you can get your radio working. People have mentioned before that they think that we're just trying to like scam them out of money or like get them to buy our stuff, but we're making your life easier. There's a lot of value here. You see all the other extra things you have to do. Like if you went and bought out resistors, they're probably on Amazon like $7 and you can get 100 of them. You only need one. Then unless you're an install shop, you're not gonna have extra RCAs. You're gonna need to buy these. If you try to buy them on Amazon to bare speaker wire, it's about $7, $6. And then to not have to wiretap to make your steering wheel controls work, you need to pick up two of these so you could transfer wires from one to the other so that you get all the wiring that you need in one place so you don't have to do any wiretapping. So if you want to eliminate everything that I just showed you and you want a simpler install, this is where Acura Audio Garage comes in. So we've solved it for you, made your life a little bit easier. Here we go again, same two plugs. Now, no one else sells the plug for this, only we do. This plugs right in here. Here's the resistor we just talked about. So your 68 ohm resistor is on this harness. Your subwoofer output, your subwoofer input is on this harness. and your amp turn on is on this harness. So now you don't need to wiretap anything to get your amp to turn on, your navigation to work, or your subwoofer to work. You just plug this in and wire it up. The other part, on your blue plug, you have RCAs here, so these are the right connections. This is gonna plug into your car. Now you have your steering wheel control input, I guess output really, to your interface. And then you have all the wires that you need to hook up along with your RCAs. And then that ground that I talked to you, your steering wheel control that needs to go to ground, it's already grounded for you. You don't have to even worry about it. So if you want to simplify your life, you want to put a radio in your TL like we're about to, here's how you do it. I highly recommend our accessories. They're just going to save you a lot of headache and time. If you want to do it the old-fashioned way, you don't want to support a small business, or you can't. I totally understand. Just give the video a like. That's all I ask. But you need to work with what you got. Here are your 2 part numbers, which you're going to need. Again, you're going to want to use this part number so that you can grab the RCAs. Then the reason why you want this part number is so that you can take 2 pins out of it and move it into this. So you're going to take the black pin. Let me grab this. So you're going to take, why you need 2, you need this and this, is because you're going to take the black pin out of this one along with any color of these pins. So take the black and the white, and then you're gonna put them into this plug. The white is gonna go right here in this location. Let me see if I can show you. So let's assume these are wires you're adding. So you took the terminals out of here, you wiggled them out and got them out the back. Then you're gonna put one in here. This is for your steering wheel control input. And then you're gonna take the black one that you took out and put it down here for your steering wheel control ground. And now you've essentially, all you did was make this guy, because that's the same thing we do. So here is the steering wheel control input. You see is this gray wire right here. And then the steering wheel control ground, which is down here. So ultimately you're just making this, you're just spending double the money in these parts to do it. And then for the other part, you're gonna need an antenna adapter for this car. So that part number is the 40HD10. If you buy our DIY combo, it comes included. Then the last thing you need are your dash kits. So if you're doing a single DIN radio like this one, this is a single DIN, meaning 1 DIN, that's the unit of measurement for radios. So it's the slim guy. You're gonna need this part number, which is the 997815B. And the only difference between this and the other part is that this gives you a little pocket. So you get a pocket to put beneath the radio like in a standard install. If you are going to do a double DIN like we are, double DIN is this radio. 2 DINs is the measure of unit for the radio. That's going to be that part number right there, which is a 957815B. If you need all these parts, you can go for a DIY combo. You can buy it on our website. You can buy it on eBay, which includes these 3, this, and then the instructions on how to wire everything. Very simple. It's a pretty great package. Really simplifies the install for you. You don't really have to do a lot. If you don't want to, again, I showed you what you need to do. You're gonna need these 2, an RCA, and everything else I told you about. If you wanna simplify your life even more, you don't wanna do any wiring, we sell complete kits, meaning you get all this wired already for your radio. You don't have to do any wiring. It also includes your steering wheel control module, so all you have to do is plug everything in and then hold volume up to program this guy, and then you're set to go. We've sold hundreds of these at this point, so people love them. You can check our reviews. Very easy, one of our best sellers. Again, I'm not trying to really sell you anything. I'm just telling you these are the options you have available. You make the decision, but we would appreciate your support. All right, guys, the last thing I want to talk to you about is the parking brake bypass. So this is a little electronic device that would trick your radio into thinking that your car isn't parked. This is very useful when your radio has Apple CarPlay or Android Auto or certain menus that they won't let you get into unless the parking brake's engaged. So the way this hooks up is you're gonna have black, which is your ground, blue, which goes to your amp turn on, or the blue-white wire of your radio, and then green, which is going to go to the green wire on your radio. On some it's pink, on some it's brown, but this goes to the parking brake wire. So again, ground and turn on parking brake, and what this does is it'll pulse and then send a steady 12-volt signal telling your radio that the parking brake is engaged, and you can do whatever you want. Really, people use it to watch video while they're driving or to access menus that they can't access while driving because of the safety features built into the radio. So this is something that's very common. If you want this from us, you can buy it. You can buy it on Amazon. It's called a parking brake bypass. And if you order something from us that is a wired solution, so if you order one of our wired harnesses and you add this to your cart, we'll wire it up for you so you don't have to worry about any of the wiring. But all right, guys, I know I've talked a bunch. It's been a whole lot of crap. I didn't mean to really ramble on for too long. I'm just trying to tell you that this install is not as easy. I have hundreds of people that hit me up saying, oh, back in my day, it was so much simpler. Oh, with these newer cars, oh, I've never had this problem with this TL. I've had shops call me now saying, hey man, I see you're the guy to go to on these. What did we do wrong? We have no sound, the navigation doesn't work, what do we have to do? So I'm hoping to answer all those questions and help you install this radio relatively easy so that you don't have to go crazy figuring out where you went wrong. I'm gonna get into the disassembly now, and I'll share some tips with you along the way, just so you have an idea of what I'm using for the install. Obviously, our accessories, no parking brake bypass because this isn't a touchscreen. A new wiring harness for this radio, and then obviously your steering wheel control interface, and then a dash kit, and that's really it. Everything else is going back into where it was. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. To get the radio out of TL, you're not gonna need a lot of tools, but you are gonna need a lot of patience. So you're gonna need a trim panel tool, something a little thicker to really pull on panels that are a little hard to get off. A thinner trim panel tool to get into those first start removing a panel. Then a screwdriver, but you want a thick boy at the end. So you want something with a thicker edge. You don't want a thinner screwdriver. You need it to really grab hold of those screws so you don't strip them. And then a metal pickup tool. This is so that when the clips inevitably fall or the screws fall, you can grab them from where they are and you don't go crazy looking for a screw. All right, guys, let me jump in the car and show you where we're gonna start. All right, guys, so as a DIYer, this is gonna be a little nerve-wracking because this might be your baby. This might be a car you've never worked on before. So you're like, all right, how does this thing come apart? So the first thing is these trim panels. So you have this trim and you have this trim. These need to come off first. The way you're gonna get those off is you're actually gonna start in here. So you're gonna open the glove box and then you're gonna start prying these up. So if you start from this edge, you see I stuck my trim panel in here, it just came up. Then you can grab your hand and use it to pull up, and you see it came loose. I'm gonna get better on camera here. So it started coming loose on, and then you keep pulling up with your hand, keep pulling up. Now here, let me switch you up. So once you get that loose, here is where it can get a little nerve-wracking. So here it is attached here with clips and also a lot of pressure. So when you go to pull, you have to pull hard. The other tip I have for you is if you don't feel like pulling, you can stick a pry tool underneath here and try to get this to come up a little to give. But in reality, all you really have to do is just pull here and it should come off. You saw it makes a noise like something broke, but nothing broke. It's just these clips coming out. So you should have a clip here, another one here, and going all the way down. I'm sorry, it's a little dark in the car. I'll get some more lighting in a little bit. But now the next thing is we have to take this trim piece off as well. Guys, you're gonna go right in this space, right here, which is the corner of the glove box. Pry into there. And now, let me get my hand out of the way so you can see. And now lift up, so that should free it. Now it's free. Now you can begin pulling with your hand, and as you pull with your hand, you're just going to continue up. So let me show you that. We're pulling up again. And you're just going to keep pulling with your hand. It's hard with one hand. And you just don't ever want to, like, now that I'm going to take this off, you don't want to pull from here. You could break or bend this thing. You want to keep pulling right where the pressure is. So now I'm going to try to get my finger, and there we go. Got it off. Now we need to take a look at screws. So the screws to get your radio off are going to be 2 up here. We still need to remove this panel. This is where a lot of the, so there's 2 up here. We still need to remove this panel. This is where a lot of the clips can get lost. Then you have a screw here, a screw here, screw here. So there's 3 here in a row. And then there's a screw here and a screw here, and then 2 in here. And I'll show you those in a second. But then again, a screw here, this one. No, sorry, this one. So this screw, then this screw, then there's a screw back here, and there's a screw that holds the radio on. So again, one more time, this screw, a screw back there, it's a silver screw, this black screw. Then this silver screw, this black screw, and then on the opposite side, same screws again. And then here, once we empty this out, show you guys. So then down there, there's 2 screws, as you can see, that screw and that screw. So those are all the screws that you have to get out, and I'm gonna get them out in steps and show you what you do along each step. All right, guys. So the first screws we're gonna remove are gonna be these 2. So you're gonna come in here, take these 2 out. Then after you take those 2, you're gonna want to remove this screw, this screw, this screw, and that screw. Okay, guys, so we got those 4 screws out. Those 2, the 2 here, the 2 here. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your arm and you're gonna go underneath this thing. So try to show you that. Underneath, and once you're underneath, you'll see you'll have this kind of wiggle. You pull this back. So now you've created the space that you need. Once you have that space, you're gonna take your whatever you have, whatever tool you have, or if you can stick your hands in here and disconnect these plugs. So I got the blue one off. Now I'm gonna get this one off. And disconnect those plugs. And now they're out, and this thing is out of your way. Because the reason you have to disconnect those is because you have to get this up next. So the next thing is to remove this trim bezel altogether so that you can remove this up and out of the way. So let me show you that. So with your smaller trim panel tool, you're just going to pry one of the edges, and it should just come up. Just be careful. You don't want to break it, so just use your pry tool to pry them up. And then there's actually this piece comes off too. So if you go now underneath this piece, you can get it to come up like that. And now you have all the room that you need to move the car how you want to, because now what you're going to need to do is stick your screwdriver embedded in here for some odd reason. Okay, I don't know why that's that way, guys, but basically you're going to stick your screwdriver in there to allow you to move this when the car is in park. It's called the shift release. So now that that's out, we got to worry about a couple more screws. So we're going to get this screw off, that screw off, the top one, and then we have to get this screw off and this screw off, and then we should be able to unclip. So this has clips here. You're gonna need to stick your pry tool right against it like so and release the clip like that. There's one here and one here you have to worry about, but those are the next steps. Let me get those screws out and then I'll show you where to go from there. You have been wondering why I told you to take the screws up here out. That's so you have flexibility to pull this panel up. So normally what this installation will require, if you're going to do it technically the right way, is to pull the glove box off and release this panel, pull this off and release this panel. We want to save time. We don't want to go that crazy. So what we end up doing is there's a nipple here that holds this panel on. We just want to lift it over the nipple like so. So now we're over the nipple. And when this is over the nipple, it releases these two clips as well. So I'll let you free this one side. So let me put the camera in an angle where you can see. Lift over the nipple, guys. And then that allows us to free this one side. So now this side isn't clipped anymore here or there, and now we can do the same for the other side. The only thing is, to make this easier for yourself, make sure the seats are all the way back. So I'm just gonna move that seat back real quick. Seat all the way back. Again, let me see if I can bring it over there. There we go. We're gonna just lift over the nipple. So for that, we are going to release one of these first. There we go. And then we're going to come over and lift. And when we lift, we're going to finagle this out. So you just need to make sure this doesn't go back in. Like there, it's still in. Oh no, there it's out. Sorry. So now it's out. Now this is out. Now I can begin to pull this piece apart. Geez. So all you're going to do is you're going to just wiggle this till it starts to come loose. Then you want to put your e-brake up so that you have room to maneuver this piece out. When you go to pull this piece out, the only last thing you need to worry about is going to be the cigarette lighter. So if I could actually get it out. There we go. I don't know what I was getting stuck on. So now the last piece we need to undo is the cigarette lighter clip, and all you do is push here and pull back, and now this piece is free. All right guys, that piece you just set to the side. You won't really need it unless you're gonna run a USB wire or something through it. Now that's really almost it. Now to get the radial to rest out, we need to take this piece off, and then there is a screw here below this and a screw below that. To get to those screws, I recommend having a screwdriver with a magnetic tip, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna insert it through this hole. You're gonna grab it, it's gonna start turning. Once it's loose enough, you're gonna basically play this by feel. It's gonna keep getting loose. You're gonna put your hand underneath. When it's loose enough, it should fall, and it should fall into your hand. That's the way you're gonna get these two bottom ones off. The two top ones are really easy. So let's get that panel off now. This one's gonna be a little bit tricky, guys. You might wanna have someone help you if you're doing this by yourself, because it's gonna need to come out evenly on both sides. So I'll start it down here. Oh man. Okay, so you saw that little trick. Basically, I came in here, twisted my tool. My tool gets underneath. Come on. There you go. Gets underneath like so, and then I'm able to move it up, releasing some of the clips. So you see it's starting to come out. Now we need to do the same thing on our other side, and that's why I was saying you might want to have another person help you, because now continuing to, and the reason why you want to start from this edge is because if you somehow screw this up a little, you won't notice it. Like on this side you'll always see it because you're driving. On this side you won't see it all the time. Oh my god, this one's really on here. But yeah guys, this is what I was saying. This is like the toughest part, and that's really what it's going to take to get it off sometimes. The tough part about this is losing the clips. So I'll show you the clip I'm referring to. So this has a clip here, a clip here, has a clip here, a clip here, a clip here, and a clip up here. Then there's also these. Be careful, you don't want to break these. That's why I didn't pry along to the bottom. This is important. This one's not crazy important. This will go back in just fine the way it is. So if you don't find these clips, don't think it's the end of the world. You can buy replacements online if you need to, but usually I always lose one. It's just what it is. But now let me show you the screw points. So here's the other screw I was referring to. These are going to be tough. That's why you want that thick screwdriver. Also, I think they're 7mm if you just want to use a socket. All right, guys. So remember my little trick. You're going to hold underneath, undo the screw. You might have to pull on this a little. The screw will fall into your hand. You put it away. and then the other thing and screw will fall into your hand, you'll put it away. Then you can start wiggling the radio out. You're gonna wanna free one of the ears, then the other. When you do so, you're gonna have some connectors over here. So this one doesn't need to come out, that one doesn't need to come out. This one does. Then there's another one, that blue one needs to. So that blue one's loose. Now I can pull the radio most of the way back. I'm just gonna continue wiggling out like I said. And now here, I showed you earlier, and here's the antenna we talked about. So you're gonna need the antenna adapter. Here's a 40 pin plug I showed you with the resistor and stuff. You're gonna need that to come out. And here's your primary plug. This one's always a little hard to get out. And then your XM antenna that you don't use when you install an aftermarket radio. Once all of those are out, you can get your radio out of here. Now we need to do some prep work on the radio, so let me bring you over to the bench. We got the factory radio out. Now we need to get some things off of it. So what we need from this radio are gonna be the screw that is here, the screw that is here, and these two clips. So for this, all you gotta do is your same screwdriver we started with, stick it in there, and just turn this baby out. Okay. And then you just wanna pop these off. For that, you can just take your trim panel tool that we had earlier and just stick it in the edge and start wiggling. Oh, come on, buddy. There you go. And then the same thing on this side. You're just gonna stick it in the gap and then, oh, if I could, and then just push it out. So those you're gonna need, and then we're also going to need these two screws and the other two screws on the other side. Once you get those screws out, it should allow you to now, remember that you had to remove these as well, I showed you that. Now you're just gonna lift up and away, and now you have the screen. The radio you're not gonna need. I do recommend finding your radio code, radiocodes.acura.com or .net, something like that, or in your owner's manual, it'll be in there too, and just write it on the radio so that you don't forget. You can put this bad boy aside, you're not gonna need it. Now here's what we need. I'm gonna grab the dash kit. Open it up, and you get your faceplate and your bracket. Something to mention about this faceplate, guys, very important. This faceplate is going to accommodate most radios, but there are radios that it will not accommodate. So what that means is you end up with this weird gap here when you put in a radio that doesn't fit correctly, or when you do like an AOTO or an Android radio, they're usually thicker than a normal radio is, and it doesn't fit correctly. So let me show you what I mean. You see, the Kenwood has an outer lip. You can kind of see it here. So when you slide it in, it fits very well, very snug. You see, look at the corners, look at the spacing. It's gonna look good in the car. There is no weird gapping, maybe up here a little bit, but it's just, we'll settle it in the middle so it looks good. But here's something that I'm referring to, the gapping is all good. Let me show you what a weird looking radio will look like. Here's one of those, broken book. Here's one of those cheap Chinese radios that you can find on Amazon, and the connections in the back look somewhat like this. This is the radio. This does not look right or fit correctly in your TL. So you can see I can't even get it over. This is how it's gonna end up being mounted. So you can see there's a gap here, and this is what it looks like in your car. And the reasoning is because this edge, see if I can get it on camera correctly. I'll show you on this edge. It doesn't fit into the slot. Now you can sand away, you can cut, but if you want to make your life easier, just go with a standard radio and make sure that your radio has some sort of lip around it, like here. This will really help you in ensuring that this radio is going to fit correctly in your TL. Otherwise, oh, you can see that. Otherwise, it's gonna end up with a weird fit and it might not look all that great. You might not be that happy. So keep that in mind. To putting this back together, basically now all we're gonna do is attach this here. This has 3 little nipples that need to get set up. Well, like lined up. So you see little nipple, you can't really see because of lighting, but the one in the middle you could see. And then you're just gonna take your black screw and let me get further away. Here we go, and screw it down. Remember, this is plastic. You don't want to over tighten. Part of the reason why you don't see me using power tools is because I don't like to strip stuff. Sometimes with power tools you take stuff off too fast and it can strip it, and definitely when you're putting it down you can easily break it if you're using too much pressure. So I'd rather just use hand tools. That's our frame is in place. Now we need to attach our side trim pieces. So that's these. The way these go is pretty simple. They just attach like so. So you just line them up, those holes, and you're all set. So you're just attaching these screws, guys, the same ones you took out before. So now you have 2 screws there, 2 screws here. The last thing, these little clips that I showed you before need to get inserted like this, and this is the front. So let me show you a clip. This is the front, this is the back. The back has like the things sticking out, and you're just gonna slide them into place just like so. Now we have that all completed. This is what it should look like. Now you can take your radio, slide it into place. And here's what you'll end up looking like in the car. So that looks pretty good. I like that. Now you just need to secure the screws. You can see we have some screw points available. So let me grab some screws. So once I get one started, then I'll try to level the radio out so I can find my other one. So it looks like I have another one right there. All right, guys, now when you're tightening those screws, you don't want to crush the plastic. You just want them to be tight. And here you go. Here is our radio all set up in our dash kit. Now what we need to take care of is our wiring. So let me jump to that. All right, guys, so if you remember, we're going to be using our DIY combo, which is these 3 harnesses. And we have the harness for the radio, and then we have the harness for the steering wheel controls. Steering wheel control harness usually comes with a lot more wires. This is one that we get custom made. And what you're gonna use on your steering wheel control harness, if you're doing this along with us, is this red wire, this black wire, and this gray wire with a red stripe. They're in the same locations they are in the ASWC1 harness. All those other wires and all the other locations you're not gonna use. So again, red, black, gray with a red stripe, and then of course the auxiliary. Then, because this is a Kenwood, in order to get our steering wheel controls to work, you will also need this adapter, which comes in your ASWC1 box. So let's get started with these wires. So ignore that. So I'm gonna unpin the speaker wires because they're not gonna be used. Then I'm gonna trim these up and make a harness out of them. So if you are following our instructions and you are using our accessories or accessories similar to ours, you're not going to use your speaker wires, so make sure you tape these up, or if not, remove them like we're about to. All right, guys, I know this question is going to come up, so I want to answer it now. So if you're doing a Pioneer or a Sony, some Kenwoods as well, you're going to have a wire that's labeled system remote control. It's going to be a blue-white wire. You're only going to have one of these blue wires or blue-white wires, but on your Acura you're going to have 2 blue wires. So this is the amp turn on, this is the antenna turn on. If you only have one blue wire, then both of these go to one of these. Again, blue white to both blues, both single blues if you only have one blue white wire. If you have two blue wires, like in this case, so this case we have an antenna ant cont, and then we have the subwoofer turn on, which is blue white. Then blue white goes to the gray connector, so these go together, blue white, and ant cont goes to your antenna adapter, which is another blue like that. So I'm gonna actually connect all of these, but I wanted to address that first because that's a question that a lot of people have. So let me get my wiring started here. I think I have everything I need now. I'm gonna talk to you a little bit throughout the way, but it's really gonna be a time lapse. You're just color matching at this point, all the wires that you have. So let me get my tools and then we'll go from there. All right guys, so here's the wires we are going to use, which is ground black, red switch 12 volts, blue white amp turn on, solid blue antenna turn on, yellow constant power, orange white illumination, blue with a yellow stripe steering wheel control input. If you're not doing a Kenwood or a JVC, you will not have this wire. So the first thing we're going to do is connect our ASWC1 harness to our primary harness, and the first wire we're going to hook up is the gray red wire to the gray wire. So all you're going to do is strip both, twist them together. Then we're gonna do our next wires, which are reds. So there's a red here, there's a red here. Your two reds, they go together. And then you have your two blacks. So black to black. We're gonna strip this back a little and use this. So we'll test these two together, but leave some slack, and you'll see why in a second. Now, if you're not gonna add steering wheel controls to your install, you don't need to worry about this step, step one. If you're not using the ASWC1, then you would need to replace this with the step for your interface. If you are not using our product and you didn't add the extra pins that I told you about, so you didn't add the extra ground pin and then add that to ground, and you didn't add your steering wheel control pin, which would have been this gray wire, then you're gonna need to wire tap this wire and do a little bit more. Your steering wheel control interface installation won't be this easy. So now we're gonna jump to the next step, which is doing each one of these. So I'm just gonna grab some heat shrink. Put some here. Put some here. We are going to hook up our antenna and our remote wire. So we're gonna go blue white to this connector, 40 pin, blue white to the solid blue wire. Now the solid blue wire to your antenna. Okay. Then we're going to take care of our orange wire. So let me grab some more. Our orange wire next. And then our red wire after that, and then last but not least, our yellow wire. So you're just gonna color match these. So here you have your orange, your yellow, and your reds. So let me get that ready again. So we'll go yellow to orange. Yellow to yellow. Come on, why not? Come on, there you go. Reds to reds. Now we're gonna go black to blacks. If this is enough. So blacks to blacks. So the reason why we did this separated twist is so when we go to hook up our ground, it's easier, because this ground's usually going to be thick. It's easier to wrap them across each other like so for a good connection before we solder. We're going to solder all of these, but I'm just showing you a little trick. All right, then the last thing is if you have a Kenwood, you're going to have this wire. It's going to be blue with a yellow stripe. You're going to strip that. You're going to turn this down. Then you're gonna hook up the brown wire. So normally what I do is you're gonna hook up the brown wire. Normally what I do is trim that off. I strip that. So there's like a little bit of overlap, but they both will go into. The reason why I strip this back some is so that when I put the shrink wrap over it, they both fit, and then when I make the connection, it looks like both wires are going somewhere. That's just so that people don't get confused, because you only need to hook one of these up, but if people see a loose wire, they assume something's wrong. Alright guys, so now I'm just going to solder it all. If you guys are looking for a soldering iron or solder, I highly recommend this solder right here. It has a rosin core and some other stuff that just makes it easy to work with. And then this one's pretty good. It actually has a button right here so you can turn it on and off from your hand. Alright guys, and that's it. So we soldered every single connection. You can see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 connections in total. Now we're just going to slide the shrink wrap over them and then hit them with the heat gun. Alright guys, so I hit the heat shrink with the heat gun. You can see it actually shrunk down. So now our connection is soldered and heat shrunk, so we won't have any issues. So now all I like to do is just add some tape to make the harness look complete. And basically this is just Tessa tape. See, it says the word Tessa on it. And I'm just going to start wrapping the tape right around the harness. So yeah guys, here's our complete harness. Here are the 3 connectors that you will plug into the car. Here is this ASWC connection. So normally this plugs into the back of the radio, but because you have a Kenwood, that's why we had to wire this up so we can make that connection. That stays plugged in like that. This goes to your ASWC1, and this goes to the back of your radio. And then of course, you need to hook up all your RCAs to the back of the radio. So let me actually demonstrate that. All right guys, so we're gonna hook this up now. So with our harness, we're gonna use our RCAs first. So we have them labeled, and you just need to match up each label. So on the bottom here on this Kenwood is where our sub is. So we're gonna hook up, these are mono outputs. They're gonna be the same output on either side, so you don't need to worry about left or right. I just normally just hook it up to the left. Then you have your rears, which are actually on the top on this Kenwood. And then you have your fronts, so you just line us up. So now we have our antenna, which is gonna go right here. So our antenna's in, all our RCA's are in. The last thing we need is to hook up our power adapter. So our power adapter is right here. So these are all the connections that you need to make at the radio. Now you need to make some at the car, and let me show you this last connection, which is the last connections for the ASWC1. The ASWC1 has 2 holes. One has a reset button, one has an LED. So if you ever have trouble with this and you're giving us a call, we're gonna tell you to look at the LED, see what it's doing, and then we might ask you to reset the module, which you're gonna need to stick something in here to reset it. But all you're gonna do, now this has a connector right here. You're gonna plug this in, and now you're all set, guys. All you have to do is plug this into the car and you're all set to go. This is what our complete kit is. So our complete kit is this: a wired harness, as you see here, completely wired, and then the dash kit that we installed earlier for your radio. These save people a lot of time because you don't have to do all the wiring. You just have to do the disassembly and assembly. But now we're gonna get this into the car and see what it sounds like. All right, guys, so we made our connections. That 40 pin to the 40 pin, the antenna, and the blue adapter. This white adapter here does not get used when installing an aftermarket radio. So just remember that. People always ask, you don't use this. So now we're gonna power on the radio and see how it sounds. All right, guys, so we're gonna power on the radio. We're also gonna program the ASWC1. So you see it's right here. I'm gonna turn the car on. You should see the LED begin flashing. When it begins flashing, I'm gonna hold volume up on the steering wheel. So I'm gonna keep holding volume up. It's gonna go through a series of flashes. Now it's detecting the radio type. So it's going through it still. It's gonna go solid red. That means it should be done programming. If your radio doesn't respond, the programming didn't go correctly. So our radio isn't responding. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn the car off. Our LED is gonna go off. This time our LED is gonna flash green. And now we're gonna try the controls again. Let me just go to source. So here we are at the tuner, and now we're gonna try our controls. You see our controls still aren't working. So normally what happens, all right. So normally, guys, with Kenwood radios, when it doesn't auto program, you need to program it yourself. And I'll walk you through that really quick. All you're gonna do is it's gonna flash green. You're gonna hold volume down. That's gonna tell the radio, hey, I wanna switch. That's gonna tell the module, hey, I wanna switch the radio type. Then you're gonna hit volume up again. They're gonna flash red each time you hit volume up. Then you're gonna hold volume down. Basically what you're doing is you're telling the module, hey, I need to change the radio type. It's a Kenwood. There's a correlation between the number of times you press volume up and the radio number. I'll link that in the description. I'll even throw a diagram on for whatever radio. Pioneers, usually any radio where you plug in the ASWC1 straight into the back of the radio, they'll auto program, no problem. Kenwoods tend to do this where you're just gonna have to switch the radio mode. So let me show you that. So you're gonna turn the key on, right? It just flashed green. Let me try to make sure I get that on camera. So let me turn the car back off. So here I'm turning the key, you should hear it. One green flash. That was kind of hard to see. Let me do that again. So here I'm turning the camera on. One green flash. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna hold volume down, and this should turn solid red. Just give it a second. There it goes, solid red. So I'm gonna let go of volume down. It's gonna go away. Now I'm gonna hit volume up. When I hit volume up, I hit it once, I missed the red light. I'm gonna hit it again. There's the red light. So that's the 2 volume ups that I needed to do. When you hit it, it's gonna flash red. Now what you're gonna do is hold volume down until it goes off. Now it went off. Now my radio should respond on my next key. So I'm gonna turn the key back on. Green flash. Now my radio should respond to my controls. Oh. I guess not. So what we're gonna do is, guys, so here we are about 30 minutes later. So that Kenwood radio was no good. So we had to switch it for a Pioneer radio. Now our steering wheel controls are working. Let me show you that. So
first month payment, tax,
there you go.
due its time.
Working as supposed to. Now the only thing we have to do is run a mic. The only problem here is that this radio did not come with a mic. Neither did the radio the customer brought, so we don't have a mic to run. But normally you would take your microphone from the back of the radio, snake it underneath there, and run it up to here or up here, wherever you would like. But that's one of the steps that I sorry can't cover in this video. I'll try to cover it in another video later on, but that's really that microphone's for Bluetooth calling, and that's why it's important, so people can hear you when they call you, but it's not necessary for anything else. All right, guys, so let me get back to the install. Basically, I just sat it on there. As you can see, now I'm going to put the other screws. I connected everything I needed to, feed these out of here, and now I'm going to start the process of putting it back together. To put it back together, I recommend these two screws first, then these two, then sliding this panel into place, etc. So I'll go one step at a time for you so we can walk through this together. So you have your two long screws. Turn the car off. All right, guys, so to do this, what you're going to want to do is the same thing you did before. Come up, bring this over the nipple like so, and that'll give you kind of a direct way to insert this screw. So now my screw's in. Now I can begin tightening it. And then the same thing on the other side. So you're gonna bring this up and over that nipple, and that should give you the room you need to feed the screw into its place. And then you can just put it right back. Now be careful when putting these back. You can easily cross thread them if you try to force them in. So now earlier in the video I told you to get a magnetic pickup tool, and the reason for that tool is so that you can come in here and pick up any of the clips that fell, etc. I already looked for my clips, but that's normally what you would use it for. So now I'm going to do the top two. So these you just want to line up and kind of start them by hand so that they don't cross thread, because these will cross thread very easily, especially when you're in an angle like this and you're trying to get it in. I recommend coming right overhead and ensuring that you're not putting in crooked. Like right now it's crooked, I can start cross threading it. So what I want to do is come back out. Come on, screw. I want to undo it and straighten it, and now it should be good to go in. Now that that's in, you want to just hook this back up so the white one goes in the middle, blue one goes to the blue. Okay. When putting this back, guys, it's just a matter of lining it all up and then slamming it into place like I just did. You just want to make sure those two connections are hooked up before you do so. Now we're going to shift the car back into park, and we're going to put this back in. Where you have to be careful here is not to forget. So where you have to be careful here, guys, is not to forget your cigarette lighter when you go to plug it back in. So all you're going to do is, so you're going to slide this back in like so over the shift knob. Once you're over the shift knob, you're going to turn it just enough so that you can get your hand underneath on this side to plug this back in. Once that's in, you can now just verify that this is going into place correctly. Once that's in, now what you need to do is to sit it into this groove and line it up with these holes. First things first though, you're gonna need to line it up here and line it up on the other side. So I'm gonna go in some, and then I gotta come back up and over the nipple, so then I can get that into place, and then the same thing on the other side. Now those are in. You can press down on the radio lip to get it to sit real well, and then also push forward your fingers like this. So when you're doing this, let me come up a little. So like this, to really seat it well. Once it's seated, you can put your little black screws back. Now here, guys, you don't want to over tighten because it will cause these to crush, and then you'll eventually break them. So just tighten enough so that you get some resistance. Again, just tight enough so you get some resistance. And then that's good. Now what we can do is we can put these screws back. So let me show you, let me bring it higher up. So this screw and that screw can go back, and those were our gold screws. Well, actually our dark browns. No, they were silver then? Yeah, because these... I don't remember what color screws they were. I assume it's this one because the silver ones went here. Yeah. So it's these brown ones, or black ones in our case. They vary on TLs. Like 04, 06, these are gold. But 07, 08, they're black. Whatever. Just know that the screw looks like that. There's another similar one that goes down here. They're the same thread, so if you mix them up, it's not the end of the world. These plugs, so these are color coded, so blue to blue, and then gray to gray. Now they're back in. Now you can also put this back, so it goes like this. So you can put it right back. It's just clips, so all you do is just press it in. Then your other piece is this piece, and again, this is just clips, so you can just also just press it right in. Look, not clearing some of it. Hold on, what is going on here? Oh, okay, that's what happened. So my bottom clips didn't go fully on, so now that's seated the way it's supposed to, and now this should, there you go how it wants to be. Now guys, the next step is to scoot this back into place. So there are grooves here that you have to line up here and then on the opposing end, and basically all you're going to do is you're just going to lift up and slide in, and then you want this seam to be good. So it's good right now. That means I can start setting some screws. The first ones I'm going to put down are going to be my little black screws. So that's going to be these right here. Again, this screw, you don't want to over tighten. You don't want it to crush. You just want it to where you start getting resistance. Like right now, that's good. Then on the opposite side, you want to do the same. You guys are kind of in my way right now. So on this side, you want to do the same. Just tighten it down till you start getting resistance. You're almost there. This whole time you want to be watching your seam, making sure that it's good still. Okay. Then we're going to go with the silver screws, which go here. Hold on. There you go. Now it's actually starting to go in. And now the other one that goes on the opposite side. Oh, sorry. Over here. Then that leaves us with two screws. which is the ones that go right back here. Let me bring it in there. And those are the two with the big heads or the washers on them. And again, you're just gonna sit them down in place and then screw them in. Center console. And then what you're gonna do is, hopefully your car, you still have this, you'll just put the little mat back and be all set. Now the last piece is just putting your trim back. Your trim, you're just gonna sit the middle first and then put the rest of it. So let me show you on that side first. So what I mean by that is, this is the driver's side. Yep. So you're going to go center first. So you want to line up this piece first. So this is the piece right here in the middle that you have to sit in first. So you sit down, you press that in just with your hand. Oh, come on. Just with your hand. So you're going to press that in just with your hand. And then you're going to come to the back, press the back down. So it should just latch on. And then you're going to come and do the top. And the top is just pressure like that. And that's really it. It's just pressure all along the side. Don't go crazy pushing it in. What can happen is if you went wild with the dash kit and started cutting it and trimming it, this might sit further out than it needs to, and it will not fit correctly when you go put it back. If that happens to you, you're kind of on your own. You're gonna need to figure out how to make this work. That's why I recommend a radio that will fit correctly. And again, usually any name brand radio will fit the way it needs to. It's those weird Chinese radios that don't fit the right way. So here we go. Again, middle first. So we want to line up, there you go, our middle in, right? Our middle's in, you know that's in. Then you're gonna come further down, and now you can go for the top, side. And that's it, guys. Your radio is in, and it sounds good. All right, guys, so that's gonna be really it. Your radio is now in. Your steering wheel controls work. If you had a microphone, you ran your mic.
What the hell are you talking about? Get my pretty name out of your mouth. We are not the same with or without.
This thing bumps. But yeah, guys, upgrading the radio in your car isn't too hard if you have the right accessories. If you try to do this all on your own and you did it all yourself, congrats. If you had to do all the wiring yourself without our accessories, I applaud you. I know that's not easy to do. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. You can run aftermarket subs with this harness, this combination. You can change your speakers with the factory amp. I'll try to put some questions more down and answer them at the end of the video for anybody who's willing to watch, because there's always 100 questions regarding installations. But I got to wrap this car up, so let me finish what I'm doing. All right, guys, I'm wrapping this one up. So in this one, we did the aftermarket radio install on the TL. This is an update video. Did one about a year ago. I hope I answered most of your questions. I showed you all the accessories you're gonna need. You can buy accessories from us, support a small business, or you can buy them off Amazon. I showed you what parts to get and what you're gonna have to unpin and pin. You can use the ASWC1 for the easiest steering wheel control integration. I'm trying to think what else. If you use our products, you can run a subwoofer, aftermarket subwoofers, no problem. You can use our T-harness like we did in this video. That's another video, sorry. So you could use a T-harness that we sell on our store. You could use just a line-out converter on the back, or if you want to come straight out of the radio, I showed you which wire to wire tap is the single blue wire. Again, if you have an 0708 or a 0406, the accessories are different, but we sell all of them, so you don't have to give yourself a headache trying to figure out. If you want to replace your amp on either car, we also sell a amp bypass product. If you want to really check anything you're trying, audio-wise you're trying to do with the TL, hit us up. We probably have something for it that can help you out. Oh, yeah, so installing the aftermarket radio. If you get noise from the installation, check your RCAs. if you did not follow the instructions, you're watching this video afterwards, and you have power wire, you have speaker wire sending a high level signal to your factory amplifier, and you're cranking the volume up, your amp is quadrupling the sound and it sounds like garbage, it sounds distorted, you need to switch over to RCAs. If you are having trouble getting your steering wheel controls to work, you need to reset the ASWC1. That's another common thing. The parking brake bypass, there's a video going to release soon on how to hook it up. On this car, we didn't need it. We didn't have a touchscreen radio, but that's another very common question. The other common question is the sub. I covered that. The other thing I'm trying to think about, oh, the backup camera. So the backup camera is another thing you can add to an aftermarket radio, very common upgrade. To add an aftermarket backup camera, you can actually get the reverse trigger from underneath the dash, or you can just run it from the back. It's a very simple installation, backup cameras. We'll do a demonstration on a TL hopefully soon with the one we have outside. I'm trying to think what other questions we get with the aftermarket radio install. Oh, the big question we get with the aftermarket radio install. When you install an aftermarket radio, you cannot keep the center channel. You can keep it, but it's more complicated than it's worth. And with some time alignment or just the kind of music you listen to, you won't even miss the center channel. And what I mean by that is if you split the left and right RCAs out of your radio and then feed it to the center channel, you can get the center channel to work. But it's not worth it. It's a low powered speaker, and no aftermarket radio has a center channel. You saw the 6 RCAs I showed you. It was front left, front right, rear left, rear right, sub 1, sub 2. So there's no center there. So just let that speaker go. It's easier to deal with that than to try to make it work. If you want the steering wheel control buttons to work that are the ones for the call, that resistor video is coming up next. That's the next video we're going to release, is how to wire that and then reprogram the ASWC1 so that you can use it to use those buttons. That's another common question. The microphone you can run wherever you want as long as you can, as long as it's in your line of sight, then it's in your line of sound, and then you should be fine. People should be able to hear you. Cheap radios or Chinese radios, be careful with them. Amazon reviews are usually fake sometimes with those things. Really read. Bluetooth goes out. The Bluetooth module on those things goes out. And then also cheaper end radios. So like a really cheap dual radio sucks and it's slow. Bluetooth lags. So just if you're gonna upgrade your radio, I recommend putting a budget aside of at least, let's see, $150. So get yourself a Pioneer, a Kenwood, or Alpine, or Sony that doesn't have a touchscreen. You can get away with that for like $99 to $120, and then you can buy the accessories from us. DIY kits $44. Put everything together, $150. There's a radio in your car. Or if you want a touchscreen radio, then you got to up your price. You can get Walmart has a radio, AVH 110BT, that's like $120. It only has 4 RCA ports instead of the 6, but with that Y adapter like I showed you, you can make it work. If you really want to upgrade your radio, you're going to want Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You're going to need to spend some money. The Car 70V that we have in our store and we have a review for, I would check that out. If those radios aren't up to your level of expectation, then you're going to have to raise that price. $300 is what will get you a radio for with a decent radio for your car. But all right, guys, that's all the questions I'm going to answer. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. Again, I'm going to ask that you like and subscribe to the channel. Acura Audio Garage we're coming with a bunch of content this year for your Acura, so stay tuned.